From his racist jokes which reinforced Latino stereotypes to the massive spoiler he gave for the upcoming movie, these are the real reasons George Lopez has ruined Blue Beetle. Starting with the racism spiel, which is a consistent part of his stand-up routine and can be best described as progressive humor, to put it bluntly, Lopez draws on Black and Latino stereotypes to make his stand-up routines funny. For example, he has this running joke where he talks about how racist his Latino grandmother was. He recalls some of the offensive things she's said in the past, like telling girls that they'd be dead to her if they married a black man. There are also other bits like his grandma saying she doesn't want Obama anywhere near her house, or how to spite her, he made sure all her elder care nurses were black. When Lopez is saying these things, he always clarifies that he doesn't approve of the racism he's describing. He's painting himself as an ally, and he's putting down his grandma for her offensive comments. And I know you might be wondering, he knows racism's wrong, so what's the big deal? Well, his jokes are just super problematic because they draw on and reinforce these stereotypes. I mean, when you think about it, are we laughing at how ridiculously racist his grandma was? Or are we laughing at her racist comments? There's a very fine line between critiquing stereotypes and reinforcing them, and Lopez has been tight-roping that line his entire career. His shows basically allow Latinos to make fun of themselves, but while doing so, there's an acknowledgement that there are some things Latinos do or say, and these typical behaviors reinforce negative stereotypes and dismiss harmful behaviors. For example, if we go back to his racist grandma, he's still playing off the comments to be inherently funny rather than super harmful. And it's completely unacceptable that Lopez then turns around and joins a project like Blue Beetle. After all, Blue Beetle is all about authentic Latino representation, and the star of the film has even described it as unapologetically Latino. So it sucks to see Lopez play such an important role in the movie, when he's made his entire career profiting from negative Latino stereotypes. Blue Beetle is the first DC movie that will feature a Latino lead, as it follows the story of Jaime Reyes, a teenager from Texas who comes into contact with the Blue Beetle scarab. The scarab chooses Jaime as its host and fuses with his spine to give him incredible powers, which Jaime uses to protect Palmera City. In DC Comics lore, Jaime's character is super iconic and goes on adventures you can't even imagine. Seriously, they are out of this world, if you get what I mean. Now that Blue Beetle is finally getting its own live-action film, it's super important that the movie and the characters are authentically Latino. Zola Mariduena, who plays Jaime, and director Angel Manuel Soto recently opened up about the Latino representation in the movie. Soto revealed how the cast members are all either Mexican or of Mexican descent, which is important, because they don't want Blue Beetle to have the typical Latino representation we see in other Hollywood films. Lopez himself is taking on the role of Rudy Reyes, who's Blue Beetle's uncle. Soto said he wanted to keep the characters as authentic as possible so people can actually relate to them and see a glimpse of their own family within them. But that's not to say the movie is just for a Mexican audience. Blue Beetle has a lot of cultural significance, and it could impact how Latino superheroes are portrayed in the DC universe, which is why its success is crucial. Director Soto spoke about how Latino isn't a genre or a buzzword, and said that Blue Beetle is a superhero movie that happens to have a Latino at the forefront. That's it. Soto's well aware that there's a lot resting on his shoulders, because the way Blue Beetle is received will impact how we see Latino superheroes in other movies. Appealing to fans, Soto said that if they wanted to see more DC superheroes of color, they needed to make their way to theaters for the film's release on 18th August 2023, because Blue Beetle's success would pave the way for more diverse heroes, and according to Soto, it's essential to do that, because not only does it unlock all the spectacular comic lores, but it also allows everyone to celebrate culture and differences. So you'd think that he'd want to cast someone with a similar perspective, perhaps someone who also wants to celebrate rising Latino talent. Well, if that's the case, then Soto made the biggest mistake ever casting George Lopez. This guy is definitely not supportive of the Latino community, as he made evident to fans when he publicly put down Ralph Barbosa, a rising Latino comic. Lopez appeared on the OMG High podcast with Steve Trevino, and Trevino brought up the up-and-coming comedian, Ralph Barbosa. I mean, it's only fair for two Mexican-American comedians to talk about another Mexican-American star, but Lopez just wasn't having it. And when Trevino noted that Ralph was blowing up and that he's praying for a success, Lopez had a pretty cold reaction. He said, "Who is that?" and later said, "Nobody knows who that mother effer is." Talk about disrespect. Trevino didn't back down though, and he continued to gush over how proud he is of Ralph and how he won't hate on him. Stevie clarified that he's rooting for Ralph because he wants one young Latino to get the pass. He went on to explain that it's the right thing to look out for others for the community and open the doors to younger talent. But once again, Lopez wasn't having it. His cold response caused an uproar on social media, and not only were Barbosa fans ticked off, but even George's own fans were disappointed after the podcast aired. Lopez's remarks found their way to Ralph, who actually trolled the legendary comedian on Instagram, as he posted a video of the clip along with the caption, "It's all good, baby. The future is now old man." Since then, Lopez has reached out to Ralph and apologized while acknowledging Ralph's hard work. According to George's manager, Ralph appreciated the apology and the pair had an amicable conversation, so the matter's been put to rest. Still, fans have pointed out that George should be helping other Latino comedians, especially because he knows how tough it is in the industry for people of color. He shouldn't be putting down others just because his own journey was difficult. It's great that he apologized, but it's also clear that Lopez doesn't have the same values as the other people who are part of Blue Beetle, because their mission is to amplify Latino voices and help the community get more authentic representation. Lopez, on the other hand, can't seem to get off his high horse, and he's not just rude to other comedians, he's also super disrespectful to his own fans. And yep, I'm talking about the time he cussed out a woman in the audience. And the poor woman's crime? Well, it seemed like she got offended by one of George's jokes about how it's a rule in Latino families that you don't marry somebody black. The young woman stood up and flipped Lopez 2 middle fingers, after which he literally lost it. Not only did he call her a B, but he also told her to sit her effing A down or get the F out. He cussed her out for around a full minute and said that she was in the wrong mother effing place if she couldn't take a joke. And that's not all. Lopez made sure that the poor woman and her friends were kicked out. They were escorted from their table, and Lopez happily announced that 4 seats had opened up at the front. And as if that wasn't enough, he repeatedly shouted, "Bye," after them as they left. Talk about disrespect. This guy wasn't even sorry for all he did. And when he addressed the incident on Twitter, all he said was, "You have 2 choices. Have a good day or get the F out." I mean, is this really someone we want to see in the DC universe? This guy's absolutely insufferable. And as if all this wasn't enough, did I mention that he's already given a spoiler for the upcoming movie? Seriously, this guy's like the Tom Holland of DC, and not in a good way. Lopez recently appeared on the Brian Scott podcast to promote the movie and talk about his role as Uncle Reyes. Of course, he was trying to hype up the movie, and he mentioned that it was DC's first film featuring a Latino lead, but George was a bit too enthusiastic, and he accidentally revealed a major spoiler. The comedian oh so casually said, "I think Batman is in our movie." The rumor hasn't been confirmed or denied yet, but many fans think that it's not true, or maybe it is, and he just spoiled the entire surprise. So there you have it, from the massive spoiler he gave for the upcoming movie to his racist jokes which reinforce Latino stereotypes, These were the real reasons George Lopez has ruined Blue Beetle.